Consumers and businesses in the U.S. are feeling the effects of the worsening energy supply chain crisis, which has caused gas prices to almost double, diesel prices to rise by more than 60%, natural gas prices to rise by 5 times, and some of the most expensive electricity bills ever. In every part of the country, energy supplies are shrinking at an alarming rate, and recent capacity losses are already causing widespread power outages, fuel shortages, and energy poverty for millions of people. We're going to talk about this today because about a quarter of Americans say they've cut back on or gone without basic things like food and medicine to pay for energy supplies in the last year. So what can you do to prepare for the coming price hike? Watch this video to find out. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to get notified of our new videos. Large parts of America have been going through a terrible drought, which is causing water supplies to shrink and hydropower capacity to drop by the lot. Now, coal and natural gas are the main sources of electricity for the country's power grid. But this week, the price of natural gas in the U.S. shot up to a level not seen since 2008. On Tuesday, natural gas futures rose another 7% and closed at 9.33 per million British thermal units, BTUs. This was the highest closing price since August 1, 2008. It was the highest price since August 1, 2008. That's almost 70% more than the average for June, and if you can believe it, natural gas has gone up a crazy 525% since June 2020, when it closed at 1.48 cents. This huge rise is caused in part by the fact that Americans have to turn on their air conditioners because it is so hot in most of the country. Rob Thermal, the senior portfolio manager at T. Rowe Price Capital Advisors, says that this has led to a big drop in already tight inventory levels. "We need more U.S. natural gas production," Thermal said. "The production levels right now are too low." This winter won't be very different from last. Natural gas is not only one of the main fuels for the electric grid, but it's also the most common way for Americans to heat their homes. So, even though the weather will get cooler in the coming months, families will get some serious sticker shock and have to pay some of the highest energy bills ever. Sadly, higher prices do not mean that the service is better. In fact, in 2021, the reliability of the electric grid in the United States is at an all-time low. CNBC said that the average American lost power for more than 8 hours. In the U.S., the average length of a power outage has grown by more than 100% in the last 5 years. Every year, blackouts cost the U.S. an estimated $150 billion, which is more than just an inconvenience. They can also kill people, as the rolling blackouts in Texas in 2021 showed. Not only is the infrastructure getting old, but there are also physical and cybersecurity risks, as well as changes in how power is made, which have made the grid less reliable. HuffPost pointed out that authorities say that rolling blackouts are more likely now than at any other time in living memory. This is because heat waves are already baking around 40% of the country, and the risk of rolling blackouts only goes up every year. In July, the person in charge of the grid in Texas asked customers to use less electricity so that there wouldn't be another disaster in the state. In New York City, where a nuclear plant that used to provide most of the city's carbon-free power shut down last year, the city's power company sent out text messages a few weeks ago asking people to cut back on their electricity use because of a heat wave. During wildfire season in California, rolling blackouts have become common because utilities shut off power lines to avoid the legal risk of having some equipment catch fire. This year, all of the country's 9 grid regions are very likely to have problems, but the Mid-Continent Independent System Operator, MISO, which serves 42 million people in 15 states along the Mississippi River from Louisiana to Michigan and into the Canadian province of Manitoba, has the most to worry about. Even worse, coal and nuclear plants in the upper Midwest shut down long before there were enough new generators to meet demand, and recent infrastructure repairs are cutting supply even more. Due to problems with the country's power grid, extreme weather, and rising electricity use, the United States is not able to make enough electricity to meet the needs of consumers and businesses this summer. Chantel Watkins, who works for a nonprofit, told HuffPost that her family's electric bill costs more than a week's worth of food for her family of 4. Still, the power could go out at any time, starting a chain of expensive and possibly deadly events. If there's heavy rain like last year, the food in the fridge may rot before the power is restored. Disabling her electric sump pump could flood her Detroit townhouse's basement. If her husband or 11-year-old stepson has an asthma attack, she may need to contact an ambulance because their breathing equipment need electricity and don't have batteries. Details to report in. The power went out at Watkins' house for 6 hours. She had to call her partner and stepson in a panic to tell them to stay at work and school because the 90-degree air in the house could cause an attack. I told them not to come home because it was too hot, even though it wasn't even summer yet. She said, but I have a 1-year-old who can't be in a hot house. Her situation shows how hard it is for millions of American families to get by as energy supplies get less and less. At the same time as energy costs continue to rise, 24% of Americans are living in energy poverty. A new survey of the energy industry by Save on Energy found that 85% of homeowners saw at least one of their utility bills go up in price, with electricity being the one that went up the most. The survey shows that water, gas, cable, and internet were the other 4 areas where prices went up. A lot of adults in the U.S. have trouble paying their energy bills. They either don't pay the full amount, make financial sacrifices in other areas, or keep their homes at unsafe or unhealthy temperatures to try to pay as little as possible. The company noted out that electricity prices will stay high for a long time. Now, I think definitely for the rest of the summer, if not for the rest of the year, energy expert Sultanat Badavkiva added. According to the most recent analysis from the U.S. Energy Information Administration, businesses and homes will spend more and use more energy as we move into the second half of the year. The agency's winter fuels outlook says that businesses and people in the U.S. will spend 54% more on propane, 43% more on heating oil, 30% more on natural gas, and 10% more on electricity. In the meantime, distillate fuel supplies have been steadily falling, which has driven diesel prices to all-time highs. In the past few months, the price of diesel fuel has gone up much more than the price of regular gasoline. Distillate fuels are the lifeblood of the U.S. economy, and the fact that the shortage is getting worse shows that the economy is about to hit hard capacity limits in the near future. Last week, diesel, heating oil, and other distillate fuel oil reserves dropped by more than 2 million barrels to 109 million barrels, according to data from EIA. Since July 2020, distillate stocks have gone down 66 times, a total of 65 million barrels over the last 109 weeks. Since the beginning of the year, gas prices have been hurting drivers. Most people don't realize, though, that they're also having to deal with the effects of much higher diesel prices. This is because most of the things we buy and use every day are brought to us by diesel-powered trucks, trains, and ships. The higher prices are then passed on from one business to the next until they reach the end consumers. Matt Smith, the lead oil analyst at the research firm Kepler, says that people don't pay as much attention to diesel prices because fewer people are buying it at the pump. Diesel, on the other hand, has a bigger effect and is already having a big effect on the economy as a whole. He said that diesel fuel was selling for an average of $5 a gallon across the country. This was at a huge increase from a year ago, when it only cost $3.20 a gallon. On the other hand, a gallon of regular gasoline costs about $4 on average. That's a 42% rise since last year. In the past few weeks, gas prices have gone down a little, but diesel prices have stayed high because American refineries are working close to full capacity. High diesel prices could cause more problems if more capacity isn't added or prices aren't lowered. This is because some trucking companies won't take jobs unless they can get their customers to pay more for fuel. Phil Fellica, a longtime energy economist, said that there will be more problems with getting things done. He warned that Americans will find more empty shelves and prices that go up. Farmers who use diesel fire tractors to harvest hay and plant corn are taking a financial hit. Smith said that if you're a farmer, your energy costs are higher, so it costs more to grow grain. This drives up the price of grain, which drives up the price of food. Kepler is one of the analysts. He went on to say that these energy costs are making their way into all kinds of consumer goods. In the end, it's the consumers who have to pay for the effects of the current energy supply chain crisis. An end-of-the-world energy crisis is starting to take shape, and the United States will be in chaos once widespread supply disruptions start to hurt every part of the economy. That's all for today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to hear more videos from our channel, subscribe and make sure to turn on the bell icon.